they're fixing this. It looks like it's almost fixed here. So I was going to tell you something interesting and funny, or maybe boring, just depending on what your personality is like, but it looks like we have control of that. So Keith, can you go back to the title screen? I'm not seeing, let me see if I can advance. It's amazing. I've done, last year I did over 100 webinars, both with Mini Storage Messenger and through state associations and so forth, and I've never seen this happen before. Keith, do I have mouse control?
You do, Derek.
Okay, what just happened here?
You should have keyboard to mouse control, Derek.
Yeah, except for I'm not. I see a big old giant screen here of only half of it. Can you refresh back to where we were?
Yeah, just give me 1 second, Derek.
Okay. Well, I guess the good news is this gives us more time for everyone to join, and we apologize for those who made the effort to be here on time. But it looks like we've got a master here named Keith who's going to fix all this up.
Yep, we're just having some minor issues here, guys. We should have this up and running in just a minute.
Oh, almost had it. There we go.
All right, Derek, you should have mouse and keyboard control.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully I can advance the slide here. That's my only major concern. But anyway, I'd like to welcome everyone. Sorry for that little delay. The topic of today's conversation is marketing money traps to avoid at all costs. And before I dive into this, I'm sure that everyone on this webinar, if you've been in the industry for any length of time, you know that even back in like 2003, 2005, marketing was not something that was talked about a whole lot in the industry. Sure, it was talked about from time to time, but it was nothing like it is today. If you go to a trade show today, it's almost, there's probably a dozen internet marketing companies and other types of marketing companies. A lot of the breakout sessions are on the subject of marketing and so on and so forth. So marketing is one of those things that has become a major topic in this industry, and for good reason. There are more facilities than ever before, so consumers have choices. Just in my little small town, I live in a small town called Pleasant View, Utah, which is a very small town, and we actually have 6 storage facilities here that I can choose from within, that probably take me 2 to 3 minutes to get to, which I find amazing. And obviously, the bigger the cities, depending on where you're at, you know that it's fiercely competitive. And the way to fix that and the way to win in a market like that is to become an outstanding marketer. One of my favorite quotes, and I forget who says this, I think it's maybe Sun Tzu in The Art of War, says the person with superior forces at the point of contact wins. And while he's speaking of something other than marketing, certainly, I believe the same is true with marketing. When you have superior marketing and superior forces at the point of contact with somebody who's looking for storage, then you're going to win that business. So what this creates is it creates a lot of confusion in the market. There's all sorts of terms like SEO and PPC and SEM and CTR, and there's all these various terms that are being thrown out. And unless you are a marketing major or have spent a lot of time in the marketing world, you're not quite sure what that means. And we, as Storage Marketing Solutions, have the wonderful opportunity of working with more than 400 facilities across the country. We have a couple in Puerto Rico as well as in Canada. Those are clients that we actually work with, but we also speak with dozens more a week. And we get this overall sense of overwhelm and confusion about, what to spend money on, what not to spend money on, what to believe, what not to believe. So, since this is a webinar and I can't see you, I'm hopefully getting some nodding heads, because that's certainly something that can be related to. Now, as always, if you've been to a webinar of mine before, you know that we have, I like to give out free gifts and handouts at the end. There's no fine print or tricks on this stuff. It's just, they're things that we feel will help you. Obviously, if you choose to do business with us, there is a cost to that. We are in business to make a little bit of money, but for the free gifts, there is no fine print, and we want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out to learn this, even though the webinar is free and everything. But we like to be cool guys and give out free gifts. So if you hang around, we'll give you access or instructions on how to get those. So what I want to do is I want to go through some of the marketing problems that we see, again, through our conversations, just day-to-day conversations, whether they be at a trade show or over the phone or anything like that. The biggest marketing problem that we hear about from owners and operators is that marketing appears to be really, really, really expensive. And it really can be. But the truth of the matter is, if marketing is done properly, it should never be viewed as an expense on your P&L sheet. Now, obviously, well, I guess on your P&L document it should be viewed as an expense, but in your mind it should certainly be viewed as an investment, because if you do marketing properly, let's say you spend $100 on a marketing campaign and get a couple new customers from it, well, those customers are certainly going to be worth more than $50 each, and it's going to be a great return on your investment. So that's the number one marketing problem we hear, and I'm going to cruise through these. I don't like to focus too much on the negative. Marketing problem number two is that it's extremely difficult to track scientifically. Now, I don't know if you can see that picture there, but a lot of times when I've been in operators' offices before, they have these very fancy calculations drawn out, and they're trying to figure out which marketing is working and which marketing is not. Now, to draw the parallel back to the investment comment I made earlier, I'm sure most of you on this phone call have investments outside of self-storage, such as maybe some stocks or mutual funds or any other type of investment that's out there, maybe gold these days. But not being able to track that and track how that investment is performing is something that's very frustrating, right? Imagine if you had an account with E-Trade or something like that. Not that any of you would on this call, but if you had an account with E-Trade and they sold you a whole bunch of stocks, but you could in no way, shape, or form go in and see exactly how well they were doing, that would be a major problem, and it would probably cause you not to invest through that medium anymore, if not invest at all, if you could not see how that money was doing until one day you decided to sell it all, and maybe it'll be more money than you put in, maybe it won't be. So the biggest problem with marketing is that it's hard to track, which creates the other attitude that I mentioned earlier, or the other belief I mentioned earlier, which is that marketing is an expense, not an investment. Because if you can't track what you're getting in return from it, then obviously the natural response is just to say this is an expense because I'm not getting anything back from it, which we are going to fix today for you. Give you a very simple way to track your marketing so that you know exactly what you're getting for your investment. Marketing problem number three, this is a big one. Shiny new ideas and objects show up every day. I've got Twitter and Facebook there. I don't want to pick on Twitter and Facebook today, but I'm going to anyway. They're very popular. They have a very powerful use in many, many businesses. I have friends who have built multi-million-dollar businesses just off of Facebook alone. So I'm not here to knock those two websites. However, in the self-storage industry, it's considered a shiny new object, and the same is true with internet marketing. So what happens is a lot of times people quit focusing on the fundamentals of marketing that they know work, which have gotten them to the point of success that they're at today, and they take their eye off the ball and they focus on a lot of shiny new objects, which, again, I don't want to paint that as being a majorly wrong thing to do. However, there's the next trade show you watch, there's going to be something else that's the latest, greatest thing, and it's going to promise to fix all of your problems. And a lot of people, unfortunately, because it's shiny and new and exciting, they fall for it. To use a football analogy, since we're in the middle of the playoffs, nobody gets excited when the running back takes the ball and runs 3 or 4 yards and gets tackled, gets back up, and then the quarterback hands the ball off again and they run another 3 or 4 yards. Now, and the blocking is perfect and the handoff is perfect and the run is perfect. Nobody gets really excited about that. What people get excited about, and they jump out of their chairs and throw their beer all over the person in front of them, is when somebody throws a Hail Mary or a long pass, or they do a really nice reverse or something like that. I'm sorry to use a lot of football terminology for those of you who aren't into football, but I assume most of you are. That's the stuff that's sexy. That's the stuff that's shiny and new, and people get really excited about that. And to draw the parallel, the same is true with Facebook and Twitter and Internet marketing. Now, I'm here to tell you that Facebook, Twitter, Internet marketing, websites, all of those things are fantastic. You can get results from those things. You can get new tenants. You can build better relationships with your customers. You can collect more payments and reduce delinquencies with your customers. But at the end of the day, they are just another advertising medium, just like Yellow Pages or just like direct mail. So I want you to, I want to make that point very strong, because a lot of times people will say, I've got to get on Facebook and Twitter, and they spend a lot of time doing that instead of the blocking and tackling that's moving the ball down the field and eventually scoring touchdowns. So that's another problem that's out there, and also those things are very hard to track. Marketing problem number 4. This is a very common one. What exactly is marketing? When I do roundtables and I speak at national events, I hear this question very most. What exactly is marketing? Is marketing the same as advertising? Is marketing the same as sales? If I ask them a question, are you doing marketing, or what do you do for marketing, they say, I do Yellow Pages, or I do Internet marketing. Not necessarily a wrong answer, but it's an incomplete answer. So I've come up with a definition that I mean, there's all sorts of definitions, but I've come up with a definition that I think encapsulates for this industry what marketing is, which is a holistic process of activities that are aimed at attracting customers, keeping them, and increasing their value to your organization. And that pure genius, with a J on purpose, is brought to you by me, Derek Naylor, and that is my attempt at dry humor, in case you missed that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say there is marketing is everything from what you put on your business card to, obviously the sign out on your street, to the clothing that your staff wears, to if you sponsor a Little League baseball team and you get a banner ad out in left field, well, what you say on that banner ad, most facilities would just put their logo and a phone number, or their logo on a website. That's the wrong thing to do. You need to fully think through the strategy. But everything that you do, everything that you do from A to Z to attract customers, keep them staying longer, and increase their value to you has to do with marketing, okay? And again, that pure genius with a J is brought to you by me, Derek Naylor. If you want a more official definition by somebody a hell of a lot smarter than me, you can go to Webster's Dictionary or something like that. But here is an absolute marketing truth. Smart marketing will make you an absolute boatload of NOI. Now, that's a technical term, in case you didn't know. Boatload is a technical term. Again, my try humor there, but if you do smart marketing, you're going to make a boatload of net operating income. And I mentioned earlier, we work with more than 400 facilities across the country. And as you know, the past few years in self-storage have not been the greatest years in self-storage. Those of our clients that execute marketing properly and they track it the way that I'm going to show you how to do it today are having their best years ever, even better than 2003, 2004, 2005, or even before, when it was the heyday of self-storage, right? Because they're following this smart marketing formula that that I'm going to teach you again today. And just to tell you another story, and a lot of people find this fascinating, when I very first started getting into marketing, long before I knew there was a big, wonderful industry called self-storage, I had a friend that have you ever seen those cars that pull up next to you at a stoplight, and they've got the big wings on the back, and there's usually some young kid driving it, and they're loud. They look like they have a coffee can for the exhaust, and they're just annoying as ever. Well, some of those cars are extremely slow, but some of them are extremely fast, like fast enough that they could beat a Ferrari, and these are $30,000 cars. Now, I had a friend who happened to be able to build one of those. He's a mechanical genius, and I promise I'm making a point with this. This is not about cars. So what happened was he started getting a lot of phone calls from people all over the country saying, hey, I heard that you were able to make, by the way, the name of his car was a Mitsubishi Evolution, or Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, for those of you who are car people out there. And not only was he able to do that, most people can do that with a lot of money, but he only, he makes about $30,000 a year for his job, and he was able to do it for about $7,000, when most people are spending, six figures to make that car that fast. So, me being the good friend I am, I said, well, you should start charging for that advice, because not only is it taking away from your time with your precious little family that you have, but you have something valuable that people are obviously willing to pay for. So what we did is we put together, he didn't believe me that anyone would pay for this knowledge, so I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put together a marketing campaign for you, and if we sell one book, it was going to be a book that was an e-book, right, delivered via the internet, and if we sell just one copy of the book for $99, that was the price point, $99, then you have to go ahead and write the book. Which he was a fantastic writer, and he could write the book with all the secrets, and it wouldn't be a thick book. It would be like 100 pages. He could whip it out in enough time, we would refund the money. Well, to make a long story short, we, through these smart marketing concepts that I'm going to teach you, and through the tracking that we used, we ended up selling $97,000 worth of these books in less than a week. Okay, $97,000 worth of nothing in less than a week. Now, unfortunately, my friend has psychological issues, for lack of a better term, and could not handle that kind of money, so he did not end up writing the book, and I had to refund every single penny. So when I say that marketing has the opportunity to make you a boatload of cash, that's sort of an example, and that story pales in comparison to the kind of cash that you can make in the self-storage industry if you market properly, because keep in mind, marketing serves one purpose, and that is to get you new customers. And the more customers you have, the more opportunity you have to not only collect their rent, but the more opportunity you have to raise their rents so that you can maximize, or you can do proper revenue management and rent rate management. But you also have the opportunity to sell them boxes and packing supplies. If you offer a captive tenant insurance and get a kickback from that, you can do that. You can sell them other units. In addition to that, they can give you referrals, and in addition to that, we know in this industry that a large percentage of your customers are repeat customers. So marketing is something that used to be a back burner item in this industry. Now it needs to be shifted to the front burner, because this is going to be the difference between those who survive and those who thrive in today's market. So now that we've talked about some of the problems with marketing and some of the beliefs that are out there, let's talk about how people are tracking their marketing. One of the most common things talked about at trade shows today is a cool little tool called the tracking phone number. Now, tracking phone numbers are awesome. We sell tracking phone numbers to our clients, and there are a lot of people who sell tracking phone numbers, and I would almost bet that every single person on this webinar has a tracking phone number. Now, tracking phone numbers are a great, fantastic tool, but they're not the entire picture. All a tracking phone number does is it tells you where that person got your phone number. Okay, and I want you to think about that for a minute. If it doesn't mean that they chose you because of let's say they found the tracking phone number on the internet. They might have driven by your store every day, or your facility every day on their way to the office, and then looked you up online and found that tracking number. So tracking numbers, although very valuable because you can listen to the phone calls, you can see when the calls are coming in, you can see how your staff is doing in answering the phone, and they are a very good indicator, by the way, of where a majority of your traffic is coming from, but it's a little bit incomplete, and it only gives you one piece of data, which is how many phone calls you're getting, which I don't know about you, but I have never received a phone call that has actually paid me money. I've got to get a customer out of it. So if you think you're doing a complete job of marketing tracking by just using tracking phone numbers, I don't want you to, again, stop using tracking numbers. They're an extremely valuable tool, but I want you to understand it's just one part of the puzzle. Incomplete tracking method number 2. My facility manager asks, how did you hear about us? And they even ask what the page number is if they say Yellow Pages. This is the very most common answer we get when we talk to all these facilities across the country. We say, well, how do you know how well that Yellow Page ad works? Or how do you know how well your internet campaign works? And they say, my manager asked. Now, over the years, there's been all sorts of holes poked in this, and I'll continue to poke holes in it for you today, just because if your marketing tracking method is to have your manager ask, how did you hear about us, then you are making a huge mistake. Okay, and I know that's bold for me to say that, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying that, but you are making a huge mistake for 2 reasons. Number 1, your customer does not care about your marketing tracking efforts. And the same problem exists that I just mentioned earlier. They may have driven by every day, but they might be on the internet, or they might be in the Yellow Pages, and if your manager asks, what are you looking at right now, and they say the Yellow Pages, well, then that Yellow Page ad is going to get the credit for getting the rental, not necessarily your drive-by sign, your signage. The second major problem, which is actually not even the topic of today's presentation, but I feel obligated to tell you, is that by asking someone on the other end of the phone how they heard about you, you're actually interrupting a very, very crucial persuasion process to get that person to rent. Okay? Now, when a manager answers the phone, or if you are a manager listening to this, your number 1 job is to build rapport and trust with that person on the other end of the phone, to extract their buying criteria, to find out how they're going to choose their storage unit, and then align your benefits with that criteria, and then get a commitment. Now, notice nowhere in that process did I say ask them how they heard about you. Now, with technology today, you can actually pick up the phone. With our tracking phone number system, you can actually pick up the phone, and it will whisper in your ear where they're calling from. So if you're running different specials, let's say you're running a different special on the internet than you are in the newspaper, that way your manager knows which special to offer, and they don't even need to bother asking the person where they heard about you, because it interrupts the persuasion process. I don't know about you, but I would much rather have a full facility than I would have a half-full facility, but yet know where everybody came from, because that's where the money's at, right? So again, if you're having your manager ask, I would do everything possible to stop having them ask that question immediately and come up with a better tracking system, which we'll talk about as well a little bit further on, because it's so detrimental to the sales process and the persuasion process for them to actually rent a unit from you. Moving on to incomplete tracking method number 3, and excuse me for just 1 minute while I take a quick drink. My ad salesperson tells me how low my cost per exposure or cost per lead is. Now, you notice the graphic here, I've got a no BS sign, because that is nothing but a big old pile of BS. You have, well, a while back I did a video and released it to the industry, and it was called Marketing Shenanigans. I had become so fed up with this, and we had so many clients lose so much money. And again, I'm a very caring guy. We care about our clients more than anything. We sort of take them under our wing and want them to be successful and dominate their market. And so when I hear things like this, I get emotionally involved, and I don't want this sort of information to propagate, whether it's to our clients or not, because I care deeply about this industry. And there's this phenomenon going on in our industry right now where people are talking a lot about how low their cost per lead is. Well, this goes back to my comment about a phone call. A phone call doesn't pay you money, and either does a lead. A customer pays you money. So if you have any advertising salesperson or any of your marketing companies selling you on cost per lead, I strongly encourage you to reconsider whether or not they're the right company for you. And let me explain why. Anybody can generate leads. Anybody can generate a lot of leads for you. Whether or not they're quality leads that will actually turn into a paying customer is a different story. In the internet marketing world, for example, I know there's probably a good chunk of people on this call who know what pay-per-click is, which is the right-hand side on the Google results that says sponsored links. That's called pay-per-click, and anytime somebody clicks on that, you get charged. Okay. Now, again, I know most of you probably know that, but for those that don't, I wanted to repeat that. Well, the way that works is you bid on keywords and key phrases, and when someone searches for that keyword or key phrase, up pops your ad. Okay. Now, if you don't know what keywords to choose, and if I'm a marketing company that charges, that gets paid a percentage of your pay-per-click spend, which a lot of marketing companies do, they'll take 15% of the amount of money you spend on pay-per-click, and they'll put it in their pocket as their profit, and then they'll sell you on a concept called cost per lead. Well, I could generate you millions of leads on a monthly basis based on keywords that don't have anything to do with storage. So yeah, I'm getting you a lead at a very low cost, but that lead has a very low likelihood of ever converting into a paying storage customer. Now, I spoke about internet there. Let me talk a little bit about direct mail and offline marketing tactics. I could send out a direct mail campaign to surrounding households to your facility, and I could promise them that if they came down, they would get a $50 Visa gift card just for coming down, and a free hot dogs and drinks for the kids, and I could just pile on the benefits, right? And then they could come on down, and you could consider them a lead. Well, what I'm selling there is not storage. What I'm selling is I'm selling the $50 gift card and the hot dogs and drinks for the kids. So I could generate a whole bunch of traffic to your facility, but the quality of the traffic is so low that your cost per lead will be low, but your cost per customer acquisition will skyrocket. So if you're tracking your marketing or using any sort of cost per lead, cost per exposure to determine whether or not your marketing is any good, I would suggest you throw that out the window just as fast as throwing out the manager asking the question as well. Okay. Now, again, I don't intend for this to be all negative. We're going to get into a really good solution here for you in just 1 second. Incomplete tracking method number 4, and this is the most common. We don't track our marketing. We just stay within our budget. When I ask how the budget is created, they say we just go off of what we spent last year or what our Yellow Page salesman recommends we spend. Now, I know that there's a lot of people on this call who are currently doing that. And again, I'm not intending to be condescending. I'm not intending to talk down to you. My heart is sincerely in the right place in saying that I don't want you to be wasting money at all on marketing. I want you to see the true advantage, sort of like the story I told you about my friend that had the opportunity to make $97,000 by writing a 100-page book. And this is a guy who, that's 3 times his annual salary, and we could have made more. I want you to reach that sort of level within your self-storage facility because we see it happening every day across our client base across the country. So you should track your marketing. It's not that complicated, and it's so important. Just like tracking your investment, if you have an investment portfolio, you need to be tracking your marketing, and you need to be setting budgets based on things other than what your Yellow Page salesman tells you to do. So moving on to the realistic and most effective way to track the performance of your marketing budget. And excuse me again while I take another drink. I have a little bit of a cold. So you notice a guy here who's sitting there nice and happy, and supposedly, I don't know this guy, but supposedly he's tracking his marketing properly. So the very first thing you must understand is the lifeblood of smart marketing. Now, if you've been around or heard my presentations before, you've heard me mention this phrase before. lifeblood of smart marketing, but it's something that we eat, sleep, and breathe around here. If you don't know who Storage Marketing Solutions, who my company is, we eat, breathe, and sleep self-storage marketing. We're not in any other industry, but we base everything off of the lifeblood of smart marketing. And what that is you'll find it below in the yellow here. It's lifetime tenant value, cost per tenant acquisition, profit per tenant per medium, and return on investment per medium. Now, for those of you that don't know what I mean by medium, a medium is simply an advertising medium such as Yellow Pages or direct mail or internet. That's what I mean by medium. It's sort of an advertising insider word, so I wanted to make sure that you know what that means. So you should know what your profit per tenant is per medium. So your profit per tenant per Yellow Pages, your profit per tenant per internet marketing, your profit per tenant per direct mail. And same thing with return on investment, and we're going to show you how to do that. And that's the lifeblood of smart marketing. We're going to walk through each one of those. The very first thing I mentioned was the average lifetime tenant value. Now, again, when I'm speaking to large audiences, I ask the question, how many of you know what your average lifetime tenant value is? Less than 10% or less, probably even 5% of the hands go up in the audience. Now, I don't know about you, but that does not sit well with me at all. That, to me, is like buying a piece of real estate. Since most self-storage operators are in the real estate and development business as much as they are in the self-storage business, not knowing what your customers are worth is sort of similar to buying a piece of property without having it appraised or not knowing what it's worth. Now, obviously, it's not quite as dramatic, and the dollar amount is a lot less. We're not talking millions of dollars here, but nonetheless, you need to know what your customers are worth. And to define that for you, average lifetime tenant value is simply the value in dollars that a customer is worth to you on average. It can be done globally, but should be done by unit type. What I mean by that is you can take your entire facility and say, okay, my average tenant stays 10 months. Their average monthly rent is $100, and on average they purchase $15 in packing supplies, which gives me an average lifetime customer value of $1,015. Okay, that's globally. What we recommend you do so you can start making smart decisions with your marketing, and this is something we can do for you, but is you do it on a per unit type basis. So that way you know your average lifetime customer value for a 5x5, 5x5 climate control, 5x5 inside, 5x5 outside, and then basically we take every unit type you have, and that way you have your lifetime customer value. And the importance of that is something we're going to dive into in just a minute. Now, if this sounds overwhelming to you, don't let it be. This is something you don't need to figure out overnight. Definitely start with the global lifetime value first, because that I think will shock you. Most people have no idea how much their self-storage customers are worth to them. And if they did, then they're going to start treating those phone calls and marketing a lot more serious, because they are worth a lot of money to you. Moving on, the next piece of the lifeblood of smart marketing is marketing profit per tenant. Okay, now this is simply what each tenant is worth to you after you factor in the cost to acquire the customer. So let's say that your average lifetime customer value is $1,000, and you're able to acquire customers for $100. Well, your profit per tenant is then $900. Now, I know those of you who are CPAs or finance guys are saying, yeah, but what about all the other overhead that goes into that? This is simply marketing profit per tenant. You can take all that out afterwards, but what we're trying to do is to track marketing here. So, from a complete financial picture, it's a little bit of a different answer, and you can certainly factor in, overhead and divide out employee time and different things like that. But that's what marketing profit per tenant is, and you should know that based on all the data you have. The next one is marketing return on investment. To figure this out, you need the investment for each marketing strategy, the number of leads, the number of tenants, and the profit per tenant and the lifetime customer value on a per medium basis. And I'm going to walk you through a live example here in just a second of what this looks like. But what we want to do, since most of you are now starting to hopefully believe me that marketing is not necessarily an expense, it's an investment, we're going to walk you through this here in just a second. So on your screen, I doubt many of you will be able to read this, so we're going to go to a live example on the web. But this is our marketing ROI console, and this is something that breaks down. Now again, I understand. Don't get frustrated. You can't see this. We're going to be doing a live demo here in just a minute. But basically, what you're allowed to do here is add marketing strategies. Oops, did we just? Yeah, Keith, if you can just go to the live demo. How do I get to the internet here?
I just switched it over to you, Darren.
Okay. So what we have here is a live demo of what the marketing ROI console looks like. And let me blow this up just a little bit bigger for those of you with smaller screens. Oops, made it smaller. Okay, so you'll notice what this is based on is what we've talked about. You've got your average lifetime customer value here. Now this is something that can be changed. After you figure out what your lifetime customer value is, you can change that to, let's say that it's $1,500. And once you do that, you'll notice that all the other numbers change throughout the entire formula. Let's say that you live in a more rural area and your customers are only worth $800. Well, you notice everything automatically changes according to that. So really the keystone to this, to tracking smart marketing, is first understanding what your average lifetime customer value is. If you use SiteLink Web Edition, we have a tool for you. We paid for it out of our own pocket. It's something that took us a lot of time, but since SiteLink Web Edition is one of the most commonly used softwares out there in terms of our clients, we decided to develop this, and we can get these sort of numbers for you. If you don't, you simply just have to use the formula that I mentioned earlier. So let's bump it back up to $1,000, which is where most of our clients are. Again, we work with about 400 across the country, or actually about 420 across the country. And just on average, there's no real scientific basis to this, but on average, it's about $1,000. We have some who have average lifetime customer values of 3,000. We have some who have lifetime customer values of 600 or 700. So 1,000 is about average. What you can do is you can break this down, and you can change this to say whatever you want. So if you're not doing DEX, if you're doing SBC, global, or whatever it is, you can change all these. You can add a strategy row. Say you're doing more than that, you can add as many strategy rows as you want to this. But what we're doing, and for the purpose of this presentation, is we're looking at the monthly investment for each of these. So all you do is you say, okay, our internet marketing program with SBC is costing us $450 a month. Our internet marketing program from an SEO firm we're using is $750 a month. USStorageSearch.com is a great service. They're $34.95 a month. Sparefoot.com, since they charge per reservation, you can't put a monthly investment in and tell you how many tenants you get. But on the low end, they're charging $75 per reservation. So we gave them 2 reservations, which is $150. Dex Yellow Pages, $1,200 a month. Newspaper Campaign, $800 a month. Now what it does, this is how simple this is. This page is built for you on your computer screen. All your manager has to do, when the phone rings, if you turn the whisper feature on, it whispers in their ear, Internet Marketing SBC Global. They then know they got a lead from that. They just punch that to 6. Now if that person becomes a paying customer, they simply change that from 2 to 3. And you'll notice that everything else changes across the board automatically. Now, this is true for everything. What we're working on now is integrating with the most popular web-based management softwares, so they will all talk to each other. But literally, if your manager can open up this screen, now if you don't want your manager to know exactly what you're spending on a monthly basis for a particular marketing campaign, then you can go ahead and just fill this in, or if you don't want them to have to figure it out, you can go ahead and fill this in and send it to them because there's a unique username and password that's added in, and just say, listen, all you have to do is update these 2 columns. When you get a new lead from Internet Marketing or from U.S. Storage Search or SpareFoot or whatever, just change the number from 10 to 11 or from 5 to 6 or 3 to 4, whatever it is. As that customer becomes a tenant, you just simply update that from 3 to 4, 2 to 3. Hopefully you get the point by now. And we get all of the relevant data. We not only get cost per lead, which again is really a worthless metric, but we put it in there for conversion rate purposes, but you get your cost per tenant acquisition, which is right here. You get your profit per tenant per medium, and then you get your return on investment, which is what, if you are a real estate developer or you are an investor in the self-storage business, these are the kinds of numbers that you want to look at. You want to look at your yield, right? So the real power of this is not only determining which marketing is working and which marketing is not working, but as your outsourced marketing director, what we can do is we can then say, well, it looks like U.S. Storage Search is giving you a 2,761% return on investment, which, by the way, is very common with them. They do very well like that. But we can say, is there any way we can take advantage, we can dump more money into that? It's just like any other investment, right? If you've got an investment in the stock market and you notice that it's doing really well, you might take some of your money out of a stock that's not doing so well and put it into that. And the same is true with marketing. Internet marketing with your SEO firm is definitely giving you 167% return on investment. We may want to go to SBC Global and say, hey, can we give you an extra $750 a month and still maintain our return on investment? Or we may want to take that and dump it into SpareFoot, or we may want to take it and dump it into a direct mail campaign. All of this, by the way, you have charts that you can compare side by side. It's all dynamic. You can export this data into by simply downloading it into Excel spreadsheet if you have multiple properties. You can save the data before you exit, and that way you don't lose any of the data as the manager goes home. So anyway, this is something that, again, your manager just has to update 2 things, and if you understand the lifeblood of smart marketing, you should be able to, if you understand the lifeblood of smart marketing, you should be able to very easily track your marketing from a scientific basis and therefore make very smart marketing decisions. All right, Keith, can you take me back to the PowerPoint?
All right, Derek, you should have control.
All right, let me see if I can get that PowerPoint back open. Okay. So let me get rid of this. Before we dive into questions, I promised you a bunch of free gifts. That program you just saw is called Self-Storage Analytics Elite. We're going to give you a 60-day free trial of that. You can go around and play in it like it's a sandbox. See if it's something you like. See if it's something you don't like. It's completely up to you. We will build that page for you. It's a custom web page that sits on your computer. We'll also give you a 60-day free trial of Self-Storage Manager Elite and Email Marketing Elite, which these are 3 of our highest acclaimed products that will help you increase your net operating income. We guarantee that 100% for a full 12 years. If you use these programs, you're going to get them free for 60 days anyway, but if you use them for a full year and you feel like you were misled and you got no benefit from these programs, we'll give you all 12 months of your money back if that's how long you stay on. Manager Elite, just so you know, is a weekly sales marketing and customer service training program that allows you to, your managers to get really sharp at sales and marketing. Again, sales and marketing is the name of the game in self-storage. If you don't believe me yet, you will believe me in the future when you notice that your competitors are taking more and more of your business away from you because they have a really killer salesman who is really good at closing leads. So with Manager Elite, we've literally had people double their conversion rates from lead to rental by following that 4-step persuasion process I mentioned earlier when I was talking about not having your manager ask how they heard about you. Email Marketing Elite is like a tireless sales force of people that strategically and very nicely and gently build stronger relationships with existing customers, past customers, prospective customers, and strategic alliances, so that you can not only build stronger relationships with them, but that you can get them to take more strategic action. Again, we build a custom web page that sits right next to the ROI console. It's on the computer your manager's on all day anyway. All they do is enter in a name and an email address. All of the canned spam laws are created. All of the messages are written for you. It's literally plug and play. And then, of course, so we talked about Analytics Elite, Manager Elite, and Email Marketing Elite. You get a 60-day free trial of those. Play around with them. If you like them, great. If you don't like them, go ahead and cancel. But if you do want to play with them longer, you do get that full 12-month money-back guarantee. We also want to give you a free 30-minute marketing tune-up call. This is something that is extremely beneficial for you. This is not a sales pitch, by the way. Many people think that we're going to get you on the phone and try and sell you something. What this is an opportunity for you to tell us your unique situation, your unique challenges that you're facing in your market and in your marketing, and we walk you through it for 30 minutes, and hopefully you walk away with some good ideas and some good feedback. And if you want to pursue that conversation, certainly, or extend that, certainly you can. We'll also give you a free goal flyer design. Now, since we're at the beginning of the year, it's so crucial that facility managers and owners set goals in terms of where you want to go. We have a very professional goal design flyer that follows all of the effective principles of setting goals in terms of breaking them down into weekly and daily goals, and we make them commit to it. So that's something we'll design free for you if you want. And then we'll also give you a free tracking phone number for 60 days. There are a lot of different tracking numbers in this industry. We want you to experience that whisper feature and experience all of the data that can be gathered from, again, tracking numbers are just tracking numbers. They're not the whole equation. But we want you to see how easy it is to go in and listen to phone calls and to have that whisper feature turned on so that your managers don't ever have to ask again, how did you hear about us? So anyway, if you want this, just send an email to info@storagemarketingsolutions.com. We'll send you a quick email with access links to all this. Again, info@storagemarketingsolutions.com. That will put you on a priority list. If you're not in a big hurry to get this, we'll be sending out an email to everyone who attended this. And, of course, if you want this stuff, just reply back and let us know. And I believe that's it. And we are wrapping up just in time for some questions.
Great. We've got quite a few of them this morning, Derek. The first one is, what is the typical lead conversion rate for your clients using your software and techniques?
Well, let me answer that in two parts. Number one, average across the industry is about 35%. People who, from lead to rental conversion rate. People who use our 4-step persuasion process, it's closer to 65 or 70%. It's that powerful, and that's actually, I'm actually being a little bit conservative there because it almost will get unbelievable at that point. But it's so people. Let me just say this: people who pick up the phone and call a storage facility, guess what they want? They want storage. They're not calling to talk about sports. They're not calling to talk about the weather. They're calling because they have a need. And with proper sales skills, and this is not high-pressure sales, by the way. This is very conversational, and that your managers will like the conversations a lot better too. But yeah, we're able. In fact, there's a testimonial in Mini Storage Messenger and last month's Globe from a customer who literally doubled his conversion rate using Manager Elite.
All right. Next question: what should you put on the banner in the outfield?
Oh, that's a very good question. We actually offer exclusivity to our clients who use our outsourced marketing director program, and so I'm unable to tell you exactly what the best is, because when we offer exclusivity, whoever's asking this question might be a competitor to one of our exclusive clients, and that would look kind of silly if they put the same thing out there. However, in fairness, I will answer the question this way. Your customers don't care about your logo, and your customers don't really care about your phone number. Sure, they need to know how to get a hold of you, but what they want is you need to prompt them. Keep in mind, only 10% of the people in that baseball stadium are currently using storage. There's probably about another 10% that could use storage. They're just not actively looking for it. So you need to sell the benefits of renting a storage space with you and why you're better than everyone else in town with a very big, bold headline, and then, of course, your name and a way to get in touch with you.
Next question, and actually we have several that are all related to this topic. If you do not get phone whispers, how do you find out how they're finding out about you? For example, drive-by, school, apartment, cooperation, etc.
Well, unfortunately, you have to ask. You have to interrupt that persuasion pattern. Now, if you're I mean, for the whisper feature, it's $9.99 a month. So, I would hope that that's not overbearing for anybody who's spending thousands of dollars on marketing. But if you don't want to spend $9.99 a month for the whisper feature, make sure that you ask the question after the persuasion pattern is over. That way you don't interrupt that, because a sale is a very, very fragile thing. Anything you can say something, you can say the wrong word, you can say something the wrong way, and you can completely blow a sale. So the last thing you want to do is ask how they heard about you in the middle of that, and then lose any progress you had in getting them to rent the unit. So if you don't want to do the whisper feature thing, then I would highly, highly encourage you to ask that question after you get them to sign their lease.
Okay, next question. What about the effectiveness of good signage at the site? Does this matter, and how do you track it?
Great question, and it sort of as a marketing agency, it sort of pains me to answer this question honestly, but I'm an honest guy, so I will. Your location and your site signage are two of the very best marketing strategies you can have. So the importance of site signage is crucial. In fact, it's so crucial that we advise many of our clients, and if there's, if Scott Zucker or Jeffrey Greenberg is on the line, they're going to kill me for saying this, but I would say that depending on what the fine is for your city for putting up a sign that doesn't follow their code, if it's just a $100 fine or a $200 fine for every time you put up a sign that doesn't follow the code, consider that a marketing expense, plug it in as a return on investment, and you will get new tenants from it at a very low cost. Now, again, that's something, I'm not an attorney, I'm not advising you to do anything illegal. I'm just saying that, if you do that and you get fined, consider it a marketing expense. We have a lot of clients that do that, and they only get fined $50 to $100, and the city doesn't really care. They just want their $50 or $100 to help them out with their revenue, and that customer gets a lot of business from it. Now, one other thing I'll say on signage is a lot of people will have a good marquee sign out there, and they'll put something like, we sell boxes or first month free or something like that. You need to put very interrupting things out there that are exciting to the community. Don't make it so storage focused. Make it something that creates buzz throughout the community. And obviously, they know you're a storage company. For example, one of the closest facilities I have to my house is Lock It Up Storage. Many of you might know Dan Nixon, who owns that, but Dan Nixon has a big sign that says "Lock It Up Self-Storage." That people who drive by know that he offers self-storage. But what needs to be done is you need to create something that creates buzz throughout the community, whether it be offering every 10th person who comes in a $5 Starbucks gift card or something like that to get them to come in, and then you can give them a voucher in exchange for storage, but it creates buzz throughout the community. But the we sell boxes and 50% off, that stuff, everybody does it. You're not separating yourselves from your competition, and you're not doing yourselves any favors. But it is a very important medium for you to think a lot about.
All right, well, we are just about out of time, so we'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We hope we've provided you with some useful information to assist you in your investment or self-storage and other self-storage endeavors. You will be receiving an email shortly with a link to the archived presentation, so please be sure to watch your inbox for this email. We'd also like to invite you to join our next webinar, which is scheduled for February 9th. sponsored by Open Tech Alliance. The topic will be how to successfully operate a mid-sized self-storage facility with one person. To register, please visit our website at ministoragemessenger.com. Thank you again for attending, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Derek, for another great presentation.